Everybody except this guy's afraid of the front row. This isn't a Gallagher show. All the press, yes. As we see, there's 3, 4 of them here. Hi, thanks for coming by. Welcome. I guess this has been deemed the Drake's Journal book that I did for the behind the scenes of Uncharted 3 that probably 95% of you never heard of. Thank you, Sony, for all your support. Yeah, we put it together, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that, just let you know what it's about. It's sold out on Amazon, and I'm not even sure we can get any more from the printers in Colorado, but if anybody is interested, I'll get a website that you can check, and I have to go check, and if not, I'll just write another one. At least now it'll be discounted, because it came up. So the idea, the impetus behind doing this book, and it's not one of your, it's not a typical behind-the-scenes look at the making of Uncharted, the development of a game. It's not. I didn't want to write a textbook that you slog through in school. I wanted to do something that was, fun, interesting, a lot of pictures, so I wouldn't have to do a lot of typing. But the idea was, I obviously I've gotten a lot of, thanks to you guys, I've gotten a lot of publicity and recognition for what we do, making games, doing voiceovers. And it was funny because the press, who are so absent here today, they would always ask me about the games. And that's so great when you did this. How did you do that? That's great. And I'd be like, oh, well, basically we did this, and then they took it to the Magic Building, and walked out a year later, and here's a game. And it was like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. It's like, I don't know how they make the chocolate, but I'm gonna eat it. And we've all eaten Drake's Fortune, Among Thieves, and last one, I don't know what it's called. I know what it's called. It's part of the joke. Thank you. And go with this. There you go. So the truth of the matter is, I had no idea. We had done 2 games, and I really didn't know what went into making these games. And with Uncharted, it's an interesting kind of experience because we take about 2 years to do that. Now, if I'm doing Call of Duty or something, it might be, half a dozen sessions or more where you go in and just do the character. But Uncharted, we literally, there's not like a full script. Like if you're doing a movie, here's your script. We're going to go in and shoot this scene on these days, whatever. Amy Hennig will write the scenes to kind of get us going, and then the improvisation, and she kind of sees where the story goes. She has an arc of how the story's gonna, well, you can't see that. She has an arc where the story's gonna go. And she writes as we go. So it takes the full 2 years to make that game. And I had no idea how they did it. I had no idea what they did once we did our job. So Drake's Journal was the book where I said, let's go into Naughty Dog and show everybody not only how they do it, but some of the fun they have. There are beard growing contests. There was one guy who worked, they wanted to see who could work more hours in a row without sleeping. And the guy who lost passed out, hit his head, and knocked himself unconscious on the desk. It's funny, right? But this is what goes into bringing this together. So it's not one of those things, oh yes, this is something I'm going to get in school. It was the fun stories that, you guys may have, stories of the guy at your work that does something crazy, or what happens, the corporate softball game, and, this is what I wanted to bring to it. Also, while highlighting the incredible work that these guys do, the dedication. For instance, all the desert sequences, all the sand, what they did, a group of them, and it was Keith Garrett, a guy named Mickey Igram, these designers and artists, they drove down to Imperial Dunes, which is out by San Diego. Apparently, they went to a great pizza joint and decided to have a big salty pizza and then head out to Imperial Dunes where it was about 115 in the shade. And Keith was the animator who decided, okay, what we need to do is we want to get video footage of walking in sand, climbing up dunes, and they took close-up footage and long footage so they could bring that back to the office and recreate those motions. So when they saw a hand, like for instance, it's not like the beach. There's a little bit of layer of soft sand that is hard underneath, and it looks different. But they're that meticulous on the detail. So meticulous that Keith ran up and down, and then he was running down this one dune, and they said, man, he just decided to do this flip, and he fell down, he rolled over, and his body rolled down. And then we realized he didn't do it on purpose. And mid-running, Keith had literally passed out from heat exhaustion, rolled down the hill. But when Drake does that in the game, if you ever see it, yeah, it really happened. And it was cool. So, and then the great thing is I got to see all this footage. They brought it to the animators, they brought it to the programmers so they can kind of do their magic and put it, and then they brought it to the motion capture stage where they showed me. And what we did is we took these pads, crash pads, like you'd see somebody fall into a flip into, and we put them on an angle, and I had to climb up them, like we called it the bear crawl. You kind of go up, and we were saying, well, there's too much traction. And they had to get a sequence of me going up in different speeds in the motion capture suit. So they got the crash pad, and then somebody had the idea, let's get the blankets, like movers blankets. They put it on there, and they had others that just would feed them down, and now I'm like a rat in a wheel, and I'm just going up and down this thing. It was exhausting, but we were able to, so that, they're hard work. And by the way, that little weekend in Imperial Dunes, they weren't paid for that. This is the stories that happen there. These guys are amazing. And if you watch those sequences, it was some of the best, it was some of the best animation that's been done in game because of their attention to the detail like that. And that's what I wanted to bring across in this book. A lot of people got freaked out. They saw me in pictures for Last of Us because they did it behind the scenes, and there I was talking to someone. They said, they're doing Uncharted 4, that's it. I'm just over there seeing guys I know. I mean, they became friends of mine. One of my favorite stories is Doug Holder. I was walking through the offices, and he just looked, he was a zombie. I mean, he was a better looking zombie than any game you've ever played. He's just dead eyes, and he's just playing Uncharted. He's trying to figure out these things, and I said, well, what are you doing? I have to make sure everything looks right. I said, that's kind of vague. What do you mean? Let me explain. His job for 2 years, he was doing, he looked at me and I forgot this, he said, I close my eyes and all I see are muzzle flashes and squib hits. This was the guy who had to hand animate every muzzle flash from any gun you or anyone in the game shoots, from any conceivable distance. And guess what? The muzzle flash from a AK-47 looks completely different than it does from like a little handgun. He has to hand animate those, different sizes and everything. The computers don't do that. You guys don't think about that. I never thought about it. So then I said, what about squib hits? He has to hand animate every time a bullet hits something. Different caliber bullets make a different hit from any conceivable distance that you shoot from, or any character shoots from, hitting any conceivable surface. My point is, if I shot you from here with a handgun, that's going to look, you're going to hit your chest. But if it's a sniper rifle from up there, it's going to look different. But let's say he misses and hits the chair. It hits the cotton, so that makes a different look. Oh, I got to hand animate that. Or it hits the metal. Maybe it goes through and hits a stone, a bag of rice, a camel. Pick anything, anything you can think of, he had to hand animate to. That's what makes this game so amazing. And that's why I wanted to bring some of these stories to light, because yeah, you get to see Nolan North or Emily Rose or Richard McGonigal talk about the game, but you never hear about Doug Holder. You never hear about Keith Garrett. these guys work their tails off, and they don't get any of the recognition. They get a kick-ass party at the end of the year, but most of them are too tired to enjoy it. They're like, yeah, we did it. And then they go off for a hiatus for 2 months, do a walkabout through Maryland. One guy did that. That's a story. It's a true story. Another guy, this sounds like a joke. Another guy went down to the Brazilian rainforest and became a shaman in a tribe after it. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. He did. He came back, but he wanted to go down there and live like them for a while. He went down there for like 8 weeks, 2 months, and lived out there. This is what I wanted to bring to life in this book, the idea was to put these books in the collector's boxes, and we missed the deadline and it couldn't happen, so we had to kind of go up on Amazon for a while and do it that way. I hope to do more for different games that I do. I think I work with a lot, as you guys know, I do a lot of different games. A lot of guys at Warner Brothers. I think Arkham's great games. I think, and the idea that thanks to you that I've gotten this recognition, I think hopefully I'll be able to do a lot more different developers. And give credit where credit's due. It sounds a little hokey, but my job is incredibly easy compared to what they have to do. So, and I'm sure they got a lot more fun. And I have a 13-year-old son who loves the idea of making games and films and things like that. So every time I look at guys like that, I think of him and I think, yeah, that could be my retirement account. So let's just keep promoting that for him. Again, if there is any interest in checking it out, I believe there's still an iPad version that's out there.